I was sent a video link from a Canadian or a lawyer in Canada, and it was from the truck convoy press conference, I think 1 or 2 days ago in Ottawa with the I guess one or two of the leaders or the main leader of the organization behind the convoy, and they also have some legal representation and stuff like that. So I haven't listened through it. I just started obviously, but I haven't listened through it. But I skimmed through it, and it was a part in French that I can understand. So I'm going to just skip that part and kind of give my comments as I go, because I don't really know exactly what they're going to talk about, and I don't know everything about these organizers, but obviously we all know they're Nazi extremists with unacceptable opinions. So I'm still going to try to keep an open mind and listen to these Nazis and their demands. So let's see what unacceptable opinions they have.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. My name is Keith Wilson. I'm a lawyer with the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. As some of you may know, there was an announcement earlier today that the Justice Center and a team of lawyers are here on the ground in Ottawa to assist the truckers and the Freedom Convoy 2022.
I did look up this group that he's representing, and it's a group of, I guess, legal advocates, lawyers that help, I guess, historically, because I looked at some articles from 2017, and I do like to look at older articles before the COVID times to see what a group or a person does, because there's so much information these days is so skewed, and if there's a group that's going against the narrative, you can be sure that they're going to be smeared and misrepresented. So it's more interesting to see, or it's a lot better to look up how they were described before these 2-3 years. And this group, it seems like they mostly or largely have advocated for, I guess, more right-wing causes in Canada. They have helped pro-life student groups they're to have a right to form organizations and speak for their cause, and I guess various different cases that go against the main narrative or the leftist narrative, I would say, that is prevalent in Canada from everything I've seen. And I know it's the same in Sweden, but I know Canada has some really weird laws according to how you can speak and what you can do. The whole thing that Jordan Peterson got famous for. So it seems, I would say it's fair to say that they are representing right-wing causes mostly, but their description on their website page is basically that they're for everyone's rights. But we have all seen who has had issues with rights and laws these last few years, and it seems in the COVID times they've taken up, cases for individuals' freedoms in these times, to like go against mandates and I guess lockdown issues and stuff like that. So that seems their focus right now, which I think it's really great that there's a group that focuses on helping people with these kind of legal issues and advocates for them. So I hadn't heard of them before, but that seems what they do. So I'm going to skip ahead to Tamara Lish here, and we're going to continue
with, in this organization, who is police, if you Freedom Convoy 2022. So with that, I'd ask Tamara to come forward and make her statement. Thank you.
Thank you. I always have this problem with microphones, sorry. Thank you very much for being here today. We are here out of...
Can I say one thing? To me, just for a few seconds there, she seems tired. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, like, God damn, it's gotta be taxing, right? I mean, I can't even imagine organizing something like this. It's gotta be non-stop, 24/7. It's gonna burn you out, man. I hope she can have as much help as possible. because she's doing something that's very good, I believe, for both Canada and the rest of the world. Actually, she's one of the main figures now, and that's got to be a lot of stress on your body and mind. I hope she can have as much help as possible, because you can just get a feeling from her from a few seconds that she seems, it is taxing and it's gonna be tiring, and I hope she goes through it well. I really do.
Love for our families, our communities, and our nation. These past 2 years, the COVID mandates have divided us. This protest began because of the federal government's restrictions on trucker freedoms. Our movement has grown in Canada and across the world because common people are tired of the mandates and restrictions in their own lives. Our movement has grown in Canada and across the world because common people are tired of the mandates and restrictions in their lives that now seem to be doing more harm than good.
I will attest to this. This is a Canadian movement that started for Canadian truckers, I suppose, and the mandates there, and expanded to mandates and rights for all Canadians. But I will say that this is not just a Canadian thing in any sense right now. It's a thing over the whole world, and that's also one of the reasons that I'm making these videos more in English, because I was thinking about like making it in Swedish, but because that's my language and my country that I also care about. But to me, it is funny because it's an international issue. The whole mandates and lockdowns and whatnot has been enacted very internationally, in the same way, in so many countries at the same time. The responses have been very coordinated by the governments, and very well performed in a similar manner or exact same manner. I know Sweden has differed a lot in that, because we haven't really had lockdowns, or basically not at all. We haven't had the mandates as bad as many other countries. We did, however, just suddenly get the COVID passport in December. Our government just introduced it. No testing, no nothing, just vaccine passports for all kind of events and cinemas and a lot of things, right? So we did have that. But anyways, this is a really international thing right now. I seen there's a huge Convoy group in Sweden. There's in Finland, they started driving trucks now to Helsinki. It's really in America, obviously, in France, in Australia, they're really spreading over the world. And yeah, that's also why I'm trying to talk about it in English, because I feel like this is a bigger thing it's not just contained to one country, and we can help each other, I feel like. So she's really correct here. She's doing a lot for the entire world, basically, and not only her, but the whole Convoy movement. And that's amazing, I think. And she's entirely correct.
As of today, Sweden, Denmark, UK, Norway, Finland, Ireland, and Switzerland have removed all COVID mandates and restrictions.
I will just correct a little thing there. We have decided on that, but the restrictions are not removed until the 9th. That's a minor detail, but there are it is a little bit more complex than that, because if you look at country, I'm going to make separate videos about that, I think, but they basically removed the restrictions now in Sweden, and also the passports are not going to be enforced anymore. But if you look how they've done it in Denmark right now, the COVID pass is still existing. It's still there. It's just not really enforced by the government, but it's basically in some fields and some areas, it's urged or strongly urged to be used. So it's not gone. And I think we have to keep going until both the COVID passport is gone, and also we have to work against the very thing that caused the COVID passport to exist and that allowed the government to enact it, right? So it's not enough for the government just to say we're not enforcing COVID passports anymore. We have to get rid of it, right? We have to remove it. We have to, basically all the government recommendation urging strongly urging, forcing, whatever, that's got to go, and we have to address how it could come to pass from the beginning. But from a Canadian standpoint, I'm totally understanding how she and people there would look at a country like Sweden now, or Denmark, or UK or something, that haven't really had mandates, most of us, and also removed the restrictions right now, and we're calling COVID no longer like societally critical disease. So from a Canadian standpoint, that's got to be like, holy shit, they're basically just completely free over there, and in comparison, I think we are. So she is correct. And yeah, it's got to be so surreal for Canadians and people in, I mean, you look at Austria right now, but that's another talk for another time. But yeah, we're going to continue here, but I just wanted to address about Sweden now, and we are removing restrictions, but it's not good enough for me. It's not good enough, but I can understand from her viewpoint.
We are therefore calling on all levels of government in Canada to end all COVID mandates and restrictions. We will continue our protest until we see a clear plan for their elimination.
No, wait, I'm going to continue.
Premier Scott Moe of Saskatchewan has taken leadership in Canada in ending restrictions and mandates in that province. Hopefully, these words will turn into long-lasting action. So far, no one from the federal, provincial, or municipal government has spoken directly with us. Instead, they are using you, the media, to portray us as racists, misogynists, and even terrorists. As a woman with Métis heritage, a mother and a grandmother, I am offended.
Yeah, I saw the Métis heritage, I believe is I read something about it in the 1700s. I'm not quite sure. In the 1700s, it was kind of a mixing between Europeans and native, I guess, natives in Canada. So I guess she's of mixed heritage, mixed native, mixed some kind of European. Sorry if I'm not getting that correctly, but she doesn't even have to, in my mind, she doesn't have to explain herself, you know? She doesn't have to have a complex heritage to be offended about being called all these things like racist, blah, 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 right? Sorry, I almost did the... I almost did the blah, blah, blah thing, you know? Anyways, I've seen this. This is also so... It's so see-through, you know, because the response by the government in all governments, right? In it was the same thing here in Sweden before our big protest in January. The Swedish basically counterpart of, let's say, CIA or something, right? They came out and warned about the right-wing far extremists that will, arrange this protest and lure people over to their, Nazi cause or whatever. And it's the same in America, it's the same in Canada. They're just being called Nazis, racist, misogynists, sexist, whatever, right? Islamophobes, I saw about the protest in Canada. The thing is, it doesn't work, you know? These characterizations by police or governments or basically from politicians, that's where it's coming from, the politicians. And why it doesn't work is because when it doesn't have a real connection to reality, it doesn't work. It doesn't work when there's tens of thousands of people that goes to these places and, they know who's there. They know who they are. They know they're not racist. They know they're not fucking Nazis, right? So when they're being called that over and over, it's losing its value. It's lost its value by far by now. And yet, like, these idiot politicians just try to keep on saying it. Like they I don't know why they think it works, but it doesn't work because it has to have some connection to reality, and it can't be these annoying stories in some newspaper where they found one photo of one guy with a southern flag or a Nazi flag. It's just like, you can't go waving a Nazi flag on these concerts and feel at home. You're just not gonna fit in. You're not fitting in. And listen to the demands they have, right? All these protests, Same in Sweden too. It's against government mandates. It's for individual freedom and for, your own, the right to own your own body, basically. The right to freedom of association, the freedom of speech, the freedom of movement, the freedom of, being able to work and feed your family. All these things are so far from like a Nazi extremist agenda. So when that's the reality of the situation, everyone that watches any source online, because there's so many sources in comparison to like a few media articles, there's hours and hours and hours and, just insane amounts of information from the actual locations, as well as people that go to these places by themselves, which I've also gone to, like the big protest in Sweden. And it's just like, you're not going to fit in there if you're a fucking Nazi, man. You're just not, and you're not going to, it wouldn't be funny. Wouldn't be really funny. I thought it was so hilarious. Like if let's say there's a Nazi guy, right? Oh, okay. He's a Nazi and he's well, basically a Nazi wants a really controlling government, first of all. And they're also like, what a Nazi like, well, they hate different races. They, Jews and other people, they think they're superior to them. They don't like them. They don't want them anywhere. Anyways, right? So suppose you're one of those guys, you're actual Nazi, and you go to this protest and it's like, oh, for bodily freedom, for individual freedom, the government are acting like Nazis, right? So you're going to be there as a Nazi and listen to a lot of like tens of thousands of people talking about how bad Nazis are. That they're likening these government actions to what the Nazis did in the lead up, to Nazi Germany. And you're going to be there like, they're talking shit about you then. So that's always so hilarious. And that's why none of this sticks, But a woman like her, I can kind of get that she's offended. I think she's more of a normal person, actually, which I think is great that she's a part of this. But I think she's a person that, otherwise would just live a very great normal life and not have to deal with people calling her Nazi, wouldn't happen in her lifetime. So for her, it's just like, oh shit, I'm so offended because I couldn't even imagine being that, And other people are more jaded, people that's been online, been arguing with a lot of people online. Then you've been called Nazi for like 5,000 times, and it's not gonna affect you as much. I think it affects her more because she hasn't been through that like time and time and time again. But it's lost its meaning. It doesn't apply. Just let's ignore it, is my opinion. Ignore it. It doesn't matter. It's like people calling you a football or something. It's like, I'm not a football, so why would I be offended? So let's keep on going.
The reality is that members of this freedom movement are average, peace-loving, and law-abiding citizens from all walks of life who are fed up with being disrespected and bullied by our government. We continue to see additional Canadians coming to Ottawa every day for peaceful demonstrations. We want to thank the hundreds of residents of Ottawa who have stepped forward to show their support, providing accommodations, food, and just plain friendship to members of our convoy. This love of community is what Canada is all about. Let me assure the people of Ottawa that we have no intent to stay one day longer than necessary. Our departure will be based on the Prime Minister doing what is right, ending all mandates and restrictions on our freedoms.
And what's he doing? He's just staying away. I tried to find some new updates on, comments from Trudeau, but there's not a lot out there, it seems. He's just trying to hide. I think it's pitiful. It's disgusting.
We also want to thank the thousands of people who have so generously donated to this protest to GoFundMe. Over the last 3 days, our accountants and lawyers have been working hard to deal with the legal details. This morning, our lawyers sent GoFundMe all the details that they have asked for. I am confident that GoFundMe now has all the information needed to immediately lift the suspension they put on our campaign. I am hoping to hear from GoFundMe soon so that we can get the money to the truckers and keep our protest for freedom moving forward.
I think these goes to show what I talked about before, her being more of a, I guess, a normal person, and not as jaded as a lot of us that just spend way too much online are, because I think a lot of people would have said before this that just don't use GoFundMe because they're not reliable, they're not impartial, they're gonna be biased, they're gonna be possible to control by the government or other interests. And that's what happened, right? GoFundMe has a history of doing this. They're not reliable if you're going against any kind of main narrative. So I mean, I would have hoped that they wouldn't have used GoFundMe. I'm not all that. I mean, I like to stay positive. I like to see that they would get the money, but I'm not counting on it. I don't think that you can rely on GoFundMe doing the right thing here, because I think they don't want to, or yeah, they're basically biased against you, right? So they should have used, even like Give Send Go would have been a decent option, I guess. I can understand why they used GoFundMe without, maybe because there's so much going into organizing this, and if it seems easy enough, I suppose, but they should have set up some kind of own system for handling the money and still being accountable for the money. I think maybe they used GoFundMe because they wanted to show that they are accountable and not like grifters trying to steal money, right? But it's just way too, it's a long shot basically to organize something like this and actually get the money through GoFundMe. There are other ways, and they should have used other ways, and I think in the future they're gonna realize that. So nothing against her or them for using it, but it was a bad choice, and it was the wrong choice basically. Sorry, but it was. And I'm hoping still they will get the money, but I'm not counting on it. So that's all I have to say about that.
I will be providing regular updates. I want to thank all Canadians from the bottom of my heart for our quest to restore our freedoms. Thank you.
I also want to thank her for doing it, because it is quite amazing what they're doing. I think this is the French. I'm sorry, I can't speak any French, so I'm gonna skip what she has to say. I think she was translating, but yeah, I have to skip it because I can't understand it. So I think next up is the former police guy from the RCMP, or he was RCMP, I think.
Good afternoon. My name is Daniel Beauford. I am a recently resigned member of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police after 15 years of service. I resigned from the RCMP over the mandate after publicly speaking opposing the mandates. I am currently working with the Adopt a Trucker Volunteer Coordination Center in support of the Freedom Convoy 2022.
I saw that. Adopt a Trucker is the other way to support them right now. And I will post a link to that too. Not that I know a lot of people are not watching my videos right now, but still, in any way, you can contribute to linking to these fundraising efforts. I think it's good. So yeah, definitely everyone go look that up.
I have extensive experience in protective operations for large-scale events here in the National Capital Region. I've been involved in tactical planning for many of these large-scale events, so I'm keenly familiar with what is happening right now in regards to the police presence down around Parliament Hill and the downtown core. So on that, I would like to just put people's minds at ease, the public that is watching, people that have concerns over what they're seeing in regards to the heavy police presence, all the different police services, different units, the barricades, and some of the equipment that people have seen. I can assure you that that is all standard practice, and it's no reason for panic. Anytime we have a massive event such as this, such as Canada Day downtown Ottawa, that's the norm. So it's no reason for alarm, I assure you.
I just want to say, isn't it sad that the police are losing men like this? honestly, these are the I can't say that I can judge a guy from just a little short speech, but to me he just seemed like a a guy that you should have in law enforcement, right? And even more so for him basically standing up for his own rights and quitting instead of just complying. I think that would, for me, that motivates even more that he should be a part of the police and not outside of it, because that's the kind of people that we should have, that don't just follow a horrible mandate without question, you know. It's sad that those guys are but it's good that they have him to work with the organization of this protest.
We have been working closely with the Ottawa Police Service, the OPP, the RCMP, and the Parliamentary Protective Service right from early last week, liaising with them. Any information that we have received related to any public safety concern has been immediately forwarded to the respective police services, because the safety of the truckers, the Ottawa public, the police, and first responders is our paramount concern. And that includes our effort to ensure emergency vehicle access and routes at all times.
Just want to comment on that. I think it's so nice. This whole thing, it's I can't even understand how they managed to plan and run it in such a way. I guess that's why I think it's a testament to the kind of people involved in this movement, and not just the leaders but also everyone on the street, because normally if you have this many people, there's just so much, there's always so much this assholes they just get into the group, and destruction and misbehavior. And I mean, it doesn't even matter what kind of good cause it's for. You just look at a sporting event, you know, there's normal good people goes to a sporting event and still, you know, they they just destroy things, and things happen, fights break out all the time, you know. And you look at something like this, and I know there's some examples that have been kind of debunked of like, oh, they peed at a statue, you know, and basically they found a little piss in the snow next to a statue. That's gonna, some drunk guy is gonna piss in the snow. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. But I just think it's, and you know, maybe guys like this that are in on organizing the whole thing, it's a big contributing factor. But I think even if you have a really good, well experienced guy like this organizing and planning, and like you said, talking to the local police and whatnot, if you're not a good group of people, normal, you know, hardworking, basically law-abiding people, things like this would go to real shit, you know. It would be way different. And you can just see how it worked out in Chaz and places like that had more, I would say, bad elements, or people, or more, yeah, just different. I don't want to judge people, you know, but you can just see that a large group of people that did something in a city can turn out very different, and it's turning out very different. And you know, it's just not the kind of destruction and misbehavior that you would expect from a large group of any people. So that, I think, is goes to show what kind of people are doing this. I think it's good, normal, working people that want to be able to live a normal life, you know. They want to be able to barbecue, basically. And it's great that they have people like this, but yeah, it's just evidence of the kind of people involved, and just how they thought of from the beginning. They thought about the, you know, to keep emergency paths open at all times and stuff like that. It just makes this protest even more perfect, that they're not breaking laws, really. I mean, I'm sure you can find some, but they're basically just going into a city and parking there. Maybe parking illegally, sure, but It's not some really bad thing. And they're making sure that, the important functions are staying open. But they're still having a big impact because this is a big annoying thing for the government. But it's not, the protest is so brilliant because it's inconveniencing politicians. But it's not destroying things for normal citizens. The sound, I guess, is going to be annoying for people in the vicinity, all the honking and stuff like that. But honestly, other than that, they are inconveniencing politicians. And I think that's why they're getting so much traction from this, because it's really perfectly aimed at politicians. It's beautiful. Let's keep going.
My primary concern is individuals or groups with potential to deliberately instigate conflict with the Freedom Convoy movement in order to discredit the Freedom Convoy 2022.
Agent provocateurs, right? And you've seen it, I'm sure. I've seen it. Everyone has seen it. In these movements, there's gonna be some guy with a freaking Nazi flag or something like that. And they try to create a whole narrative around it. I don't think it works. Like I said before, it doesn't work. But it's still something that you always have to look out for with these things, because you don't want to be portrayed in that sense. But I'm still going to say, like, yeah, he's right. Look out for it, counteract it, whatever. But also stop caring so much about when you know that's not a thing in the movement. Don't really care that much about some fake journalist trying to make a big deal about it. It would be like some journalist saying that your cousin is a Nazi and trying to make it out like your families are Nazis because some accusation of one of your relatives somewhere. You wouldn't take that to heart, and you shouldn't about a thing like this too. Try to weed out the bad parts of it, obviously, and not have these agent provocateurs. But also don't let it bother you so much, would be my advice, and kind of ignore these stupid articles that are just fake.
We've seen circulating messaging in the media and social media about people associated to the Freedom Convoy 2022 being arrested and charged. I have it on very reliable information that people from the movement were not associated, and that offenses related to property damage and just an assault this morning committed by agitators were witnessed and reported by a trucker and one of our volunteer security personnel, which was reported to the police and handled by the Ottawa Police Service. What I have seen with my own eyes on the odd break that I get are truckers and supporters of the movement feeding the homeless for free right on Wellington, filling their backpacks. Truckers taking a whole trailer full of food down to the homeless shelter.
I saw this too, because there was this accusation about truckers and protesters stealing food from the homeless, right? And I read through this whole Twitter thread about it, and I didn't actually bother trying to show it in a video, because if someone wants to look it up, go look it up, sure. But the thing was, basically, there was someone listening in to a conversation within, I guess, some Facebook or whatever conversation, like a Twitter conversation, within some of the protesters, and they were discussing like where to find food in the city. And basically they were talking about places that were supportive of the convoy, because there's a lot of people during this that brings food, brings coffee, beer, food, resources for the people protesting. So one of the things that they were talking about was basically, is there places in the city that are supportive of the cause, and maybe they they sometimes they give food, they give shelter. I saw some women on the street like with signs on the live streams. I saw they basically offered to let people come and take a shower somewhere. Like they would actually drive protesters from the protest to their home or something, let them take a shower, change, and they would wash their clothes for them and drive them back so they could, continue protesting. So there are people, a lot of people like that supporting them. So one of the groups, I guess, they were discussing like, oh, is there any place that are supportive with food and whatnot? And they were talking about this kind of a soup kitchen. And it was, I would say there was some person in there that I would not agree with what they said, because it wasn't that bad, but it was like, oh, do they, offer food for us? And there was someone else commented like, oh, no, but it's like for the homeless. And then there was someone else commenting like, oh, but you also have a right to get that food, and it's for everyone, I wouldn't agree with that. I don't think you should try to go to a soup kitchen and get food. But there was never, the thing was, it wasn't about like them stealing food from it. It's so, when you see this framing, you have to realize it's framing, right? Stealing food from the homeless was the news, and that's what Trudeau said, I think. It was some other politicians said. And if you go to a soup kitchen and you're not homeless and you ask, hey, can I get, some food? And they give you food, you're not stealing food, right? I don't think you should go there if you can buy food yourself, but you're still not stealing food. Even though I'm like, don't do it, man. But you're not stealing food. And it's not that bad of a thing. And then it became this whole thing about them, being threatening and whatnot. And that's just accusation. There's no evidence. There's no video of it. There's no photo of it. There's no interview of it. So I will say that's just speculation until someone has evidence of someone threatening or actually stealing food, right? But what I did saw, what he talked about, that protesters were, I think they were pissed off also about these accusations. And even before that, they were giving food to homeless. They're trying to, portray themselves in a good light, and also just they're good people that want to help others. They're not making money from this. People in their truck in Ottawa, they're doing this because they feel, or I also feel, but they feel it's really the right thing to do. It's not like, oh, I'm going to get rich off of this. They want to help people. They want to help others. They want to do this for themselves, the country, for others, for everyone's rights. And they're not people who like, oh, let's fuck over the homeless. They want to help those people too. So that's what they've been doing as well. So that's what he's describing. And it's just great that they are contributing to the community in that sense. And it's just sad that I don't think it gets that much traction, to be honestly, these accusations, but it's still sad that that's the tactic being used.
Maintaining cleanliness of city streets, including picking up discarded masks all over the ground that we've come to see.
Man, this is a pet peeve of mine, or even worse. I said in Sweden people don't wear masks, really. I don't know if I said it in this video, but in Sweden people don't really wear masks. I've never worn a mask besides like 3 times I went to an animal hospital in 2020 because they had a policy for using masks, and my dog was sick, so I wasn't gonna argue over that. And it was just like for the 15 minutes or hour or something you went into the hospital. Other than that, I never wore a mask, and I won't, because it's bullshit, honestly. And people around here, I go to the store all the time. I go out and people don't wear masks in Sweden. Maybe it's like 0.1% of people, maybe, that I don't even know if it's that, because I'm walking around outside with my dog all the time, and there's just no mask, you see, man. People don't wear masks. People don't use masks, whatever. But even though people don't really wear masks, there's a few that do it. And what I do see, it's these I'm not going to swear, but these masks are littering the streets, and it's disgusting. I think they're like part plastic, right? There's just not only cloth, it's some kind of disgusting plastic mix, and they are on the street. I think wondering, in a place like this where almost no one wears a mask, and those who do are the like overly compliant ones, you know, and they throw the masks on the street, which is something that I get really angry about it, because I hate littering, and I really, you know, I care about the environment in many ways, and the littering of these disgusting masks everywhere is so. With the protesters, there's actually cleaning up the streets. I think is a brilliant thing that they do, and it's just beautiful. And again, it goes to show what kind of people they are. And it's not the, I mean, it's the extremist Nazi street cleaners, I suppose. But god damn it, man, it's so funny because reality is so far from how these politicians try to portray it that it doesn't work. And yeah, it's so great. It's so great.
Centralized garbage collection, shoveling snow at the War Memorial and the Terry Fox statue, decorating those two locations, and providing security for those two locations.
Oh, sorry. I think talked about that in my other video, but it's so hilarious how they try to portray them as desecrating the war memorial statues. Because there was one woman that was like happy and stood up on the one monument for like 5 seconds. Sure, maybe not a good best idea, but also mistakes can be made. It's not about their movement desecrating the monument. And it's like someone peed in the snow next to a statue. Oh my god, right? Like that's not gonna happen any Friday night. And they put a Canadian flag on the Terry Fox statue. I guess he's a kind of a hero in Canada. And they put a cape on him like a hero, and their media is calling it desecrating the statue. You can see what I mean. You know, reality is so far from what they're trying to portray it as in media that it's kind of good, even, because it just makes everyone believe less in politicians and media, which I think is a good thing. So, but it's so funny to see, like, because they got pissed about that publicity also. They're like, fuck it, then we're gonna even protect those places more than any kind of politicians ever did. So I think it's a good response to show in that manner. But
I've even seen people have tents set up right by Terry Fox in order to protect that statue. And I expect that level of commitment to the city of Ottawa and respecting our traditions in this country is just getting started. Thank you for your time.
I can assure you that those statues and monuments, and how can I assure you? I can't really assure you, right? Because I'm a Swedish person, never been to Ottawa. But this is what I think, that these monuments and statues have never been as protected as they are being right now by these people. I don't think the government, the police, nothing has protected these places in the same manner and showed the same care about these places. That's what I think. That's my guess. If I'm wrong, you can tell me I'm wrong. And sure, I will correct it if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am.
With that, I'm prepared to answer a few questions with respect to the GoFundMe. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, the Prime Minister says he won't meet with this group, and even if he was willing to do that, he can't accede to most of the demands you're making about mandates that are enforced or put in place by provincial governments. People in this town are terrified, they're fed up, they're tired of the noise, blaring horns late at night and early morning, the harassment of people on the streets. They all want to know, when are you going to go home?
Well, as you just heard, Tamara Leach has answered that question.
So they're just asking now some questions about the GoFundMe, and also there was some, it sounded like some bullshit that Trudeau had commented on about people in the city being terrified and whatnot. And, you know, these are going to be, I guess, a little bit got you questions. And it's not what I wanted to listen to right now. So, anyways, this became a quite of a long video. I wasn't counting on it, but I, got some things to say and I ran on. So sorry for dragging it out. And also, please, if you can, because I'm just starting out with this channel, and I have a tendency to rant and talk a lot, and I know that that's not the best way sometimes to get your thoughts across. So if someone managed to listen to this video, I would really appreciate your comments and suggestions if you want like shorter videos, or if it's also interesting to get longer videos like with more rants like this, I suppose, because I have opinions about anything and everything. So that's why it kind of drag on a little bit. So sorry for ranting a bit, but yeah, it was interesting seeing this video, and I really liked that I got this suggestion from a person in Canada that had watched one of my other videos. So please, if there's something interesting happening that you want to send me, then please do, because I think that's one of the best ways to find stuff out, because I'm trying to sift through all different kinds of sources for informations that just not getting through in most mainstream media. So please send me all kind of link and info that you think is interesting, and I will surely look into it, because that's really interesting to me. I'm also trying to, it would be really interesting to talk to someone in Canada, or either in Ottawa, or someone that knows about it. And if you're a person in Canada, Ottawa, whatever, that cares about this thing, I would invite you to talk for a bit. It would be really interesting for me. The main point of my channel is to grow enough so I can start finding interesting people to talk to. And I don't care if they have a whatever following or not. I just want to talk to people about interesting topics like this or other topics. So there's an email on my channel, and please send me an email or write in a comment how I can contact you if you're someone that has opinions about this and wants to have a chat about it. That would be great. So anyways, I'm gonna do some other stuff right now. So, but thanks for this, and it was really interesting to see the organizers, actually speak in their own words about this. So, yeah, great. Until next time.